Hello. So, when I think of the comic medium and formats that comics are often in, I think of things like comic strips in newspapers. I think of things like single issues. I think of things like volumes or trade paperbacks, or even larger collections, graphic novels, compendiums, that sort of thing. What I do not often think of, correction, what I'd never have thought of prior to knowing that it exists, is comics in playing card format. So this is kind of an experimental comic book made by the creators of Ice Cream Man. This is an Ice Cream Man story told in a deck of cards. So, very interesting premise, something that I never would have thought of, but I would not put it past the creators of Ice Cream Man to do this. So, it comes in a box, you're going to see it, the Mortal Coil Shuffle. And contrary to the name, you actually do not want to shuffle this deck in order to be able to read it. But it's a very fun format for a very dark story. We've got, yeah, some fun like plays on other card games. There's a lot of like playing with the card size, other ways that we have cards, and I just thought it was a very interesting way to tell a story. If you're not familiar with Ice Cream Man, it's a horror anthology. It kind of mixes some really fun, colorful imagery and playing with format stuff, playing with a lot of the visual elements, while also playing with horror. Sometimes you get existential dread kind of horror, sometimes you get more like creepy horror, sometimes you get horror of like daily life. Sometimes it's our inner demons that are the horror, sometimes it's these chaotic external forces. So there's a lot of different kind of playing in that horror realm. And so darkness is definitely in a lot of these stories. So do not be surprised that anything Ice Cream Man is dark. And this is kind of limited in terms of how many they made. So just I'm not sure how many are floating out there. I think they said they were only doing one print run for these. If you have not gotten one already and you are interested, I would suggest calling around to different comic book stores in your area if you have a few. See if you can order it or if they already have ordered it in. I had to kind of do a little bit of calling around to find a place that had them. But if you can get your hands on this, I would definitely recommend it if you are interested in just playing around with a visual medium, if you are a fan of any card games, and if you're a fan of Ice Cream Man, I think this is awesome. It would make a really great gift too for if you have anyone who's maybe into comics, maybe hasn't read Ice Cream Man, but likes a little bit of darker stuff and like some kind of fun novelty stuff. I think it's just a really fun thing to have. So I will tell you a little bit of my tips for reading this. I don't want to tell you too much about it beyond what I've already said, just because it's just an experience. It's something that I think is best just going into with as little knowledge as you can and just going for the ride. So when you get this out of the box, you're going to have numbered cards on here. So there's a number at the bottom. And what I would recommend doing is rather than reading it like this and kind of reading a card at a time this way, or reading a card, putting it down, reading a card, putting it down, I would actually recommend doing a little bit of a switch up in how you're holding the card. If you put the cards the way that they are oriented, with one being at the front, put the cards, hopefully you can see that. Put the cards like this and just stack them the other way. The reason being is that then you can just draw from the deck like this and get your first card, second card, etc. And that to me feels A, more like an actual card deck, and B, leaves you without kind of skipping ahead. Like if you have played with magic at all, and you've done like any kind of drafting or just opening any booster packs, I really struggle with like reading one card and not kind of peeking a little bit at some of the other ones, you know? So it's a struggle for me to just stay focused on the one card. So I would highly recommend just doing it the way that I described there, where you are picking up from the back and just drawing cards as you're reading. The other thing I will just say is that with the reading order, it's kind of for some of these a little opposite of what I would instinctively do. So you get cards that look like this. So you have text and you've got a little box with sometimes speech bubbles. And what I would recommend is generally reading cards like this with the text first and then this. It works, like you'll still figure it out if you do it the other way, but it just sometimes made more sense reading the text first and then this part here. So just so you're aware. So overall, yes, it's gimmicky. Yes, it is a novelty thing, but I think the creators of this did a fantastic job with playing with the medium, as always, with pushing what can be done and just actually seeing what you can do when you change your constraints a little bit. Let me know if you have picked any of these up, if you were able to get any. Like I said, it was a little bit of a hunt for me to get them, but as soon as I heard about them, I was like, I gotta find some because they are so cool. Yeah, thanks for joining. Take care. Bye.